How strong would the Straw Hats be in their final fight against the world government and Emmet? What are all the possible ways for the Straw Hats to upgrade to their full potential? Well, in this video, I'll be going over all the possible upgrades for how each Straw Hat can reach their true power. Also, sorry for being absent for about 4 weeks. At first I wanted to fix my YouTube schedule, then I got sick, and then I had to get my wisdom teeth removed, and then I spent a week writing this script for this video. Also, before I start, be sure to leave a like and subscribe, and also thank you all for 200 subscribers, and we are almost at our goal to reach 1,000 subscribers by the end of the year. But anyways, let's start the video. So the first Straw Hat that we can cover is Luffy, and the first way he can upgrade his power is by unlocking Gear 6. Let's first look at the mythology behind Gear 6. Luffy is inspired by Sun Wukong from Journey to the West. Sun Wukong is able to reach Nirvana, which is very similar to Luffy gaining Gear 5. Nirvana is the state of supreme peace and freedom, which is something Luffy wants, to be the most freest man alive. And since the Buddha is the one who has the most enlightenment in Buddhism, Gear 6 should be the Buddha itself instead of the person just achieving Nirvana. Now let's talk about why he will gain Gear 6. Luffy has always been coordinated with the numbers 5-6, which translates to Gomu, which is the name of Luffy's devil fruit. So what if this is actually a foreshadow to Gear 6? Also, Luffy has gained Gear 5 too early in the series, and if he wants to get even stronger than Prime Whitebeard and Goldie Roger and Roxy Zebek, or even Joy Boy and Emu, he will need to power up one more time. Luffy has stated that Gear 5 is his peak, but Luffy has time and time again broken past his limit. So what's stopping him from surpassing his limits another time? So Gear 6 is still possible. Now let's talk about the powers and abilities of Gear 6. Gear 6 will allow Luffy to bend or stretch time and space, just like how Gear 5 allows him to stretch or bend matter in the environment. Since Gear 5 allows Luffy to grab existing lightning bolts and use them as weapons against his opponents, Gear 6 can allow Luffy to generate powerful bolts of lightning. Since Gear 5's core ability is imagination manipulation, Gear 6 should enhance that ability where Luffy can manifest absolutely anything he imagines. Kinda like Shinra Banshoman. Luffy will have 6 arms that allow him to make devastating attacks and will fit really well with his rubber powers like Gum Gum Gatling. Also, many figures in Buddhism such as the Bodhisattva, which have multiple arms. The next power-up for Luffy to have is to own Ace. No, not that Ace. This Ace. Ace is the sword of Goldie Roger, and it is one of the legendary cut class supreme grade Mito, and one of the 12 most powerful swords ever created. Since Luffy wants to become the king of the pirates, it's only natural for Luffy to own this. Having this will symbolize Luffy is the ultimate pirate and the second pirate king. Also, having this will greatly increase the power of Luffy's arsenal. It is an extremely durable blade as it never took damage throughout Goldie Roger's journey, even when fighting against powerful opponents such as Whitebeard with Umo Kumagiri and Odin with Enma. It also never took damage against Roxy Zebek, who was strong enough to cut through an entire mountain. Also, Goldie Roger's sword Ace shares the same name of Luffy's deceased brother Ace. Luffy will most likely take this as a reminder of his brother. Also, since Luffy has no sword skills, Zoro could teach him how to use a sword. This will also show Luffy and Zoro's bond as not just crewmates but as best friends. The next upgrade for Luffy to have is a Haki ability. Since Luffy is the second incoming of Joy Boy, he will most likely develop the ability of Joy Boy. Joy Boy is able to store his Conqueror's Haki and then release them into a massive burst of Haki. So Luffy might develop this ability to defeat Emu. And the final way for Luffy to upgrade his powers is by getting a Lunarian awakening. Luffy might be a Lunarian as he's shown to have the powers of a Lunarian, such as igniting his own fire, having enhanced durability, and can even fly. So it's possible that Luffy possesses Lunarian DNA. Moving on, the next Straw Hat is none other than Luffy's right-hand man, Roronoa Zoro, and his upgrade could be the 4-sword style. Zoro could potentially eventually developed the mythical four-sword style technique, which was introduced as a joke many times in the One Piece series and by the fandom. But it is hypothetically possible, as in an SBS, Oda drew Zoro as a 40-year-old man with the statement that he is four-sword style Zoro. Now, why does this matter though? Oda has used SBS in the main storyline multiple times, such as when he drew Luffy as an old man, drew Law as a woman, and drew Jinbe as a kid, which were all shown in the anime. So Zoro acquiring the four-sword style technique is still possible. As funny it may be, I think the more realistic approach would be for Zoro to get a tail from a devil fruit. Now, which devil fruit you may be asking? Well, in my last video where I gave every single Straw Hat who didn't have a devil fruit the perfect devil fruit, I chose the cat fruit modeled saber-toothed tiger, as it allows the user to transform into a tiger hybrid, which is Zoro's spirit animal. This fruit would obviously give him a tail, allowing him to use the four-sword style technique. Now, since Zoro will have four-sword style, what will his fourth sword be? We have two candidates for Zoro's fourth sword. The second candidate for Zoro's fourth sword is Shodai Kizetsu. It is a legendary cursed supreme great sword that is owned by one of the Gorosei, and it is the first and strongest out of the three Ketsu swords. Since Zoro has one of the three Ketsu swords, it's only natural for Zoro to fight Ethan Boron v Nutsujiro and steal his sword after beating him. Now, how strong is Shodai Kizetsu though? Since it's the strongest of the three Kizetsu swords, it's obviously stronger than Zoro's Sandai Kizetsu. It's one of the swords that was able to wound Kaido. The Sandai Kizetsu is also very durable and capable of withstanding brutal combat and withstanding attacks from Kaku's Zonai type devil fruit. Since Shodai Kizetsu is the strongest out of all these Kizetsu sets, it's way more stronger and way more durable than Sandai Kizetsu, making it a good candidate. And the third and final candidate for Zoro's fourth sword is the Habakiri. It is the second sword of Odin, who was the legendary samurai warrior of Wano, and it is one of the 12 supreme grade swords in One Piece. It is also the twin sword of Enma for his two-sword style, which was used by Odin to cut and wound Kaido, perhaps meaning that Habakiri is just as strong as Enma. However, this sword belongs to Momonosuke, meaning this sword is not available for Zoro to use. So the Shodai Kizetsu will be the fourth sword that Zoro will use for his sword style technique. Zoro's second power-up will be a second devil fruit. A normal person can only eat one devil fruit in their life, with Blackbeard being the only exception. But Zoro doesn't have to eat a second devil fruit. You see, it's revealed in Egghead that an inanimate object can have the power of devil fruits. By extracting the power of a devil fruit and injecting it into the object of choice, and in our case, one of Zoro's swords. But which devil fruit, you may ask? Well, in an SBS, Oda has stated that the dragon fruit would fit Zoro and would see one of his swords have the dragon fruit powers. The next upgrade for Zoro to get is for all of his blades to be blackened. If Zoro wants to become the greatest swordsman, he will need to make his blades permanently black. By mastering Armin's haki and infusing it to his swords, he will make them way more durable and more powerful than before. The next power-up that Zoro will get is Advanced Observation Haki, or Foresight. Since Zoro has Advanced Conqueror's Haki, Advanced Armin's Haki, and Observation Haki, he still needs to unlock Advanced Observation to get the complete Haki set. Advanced Observation Haki is the ability to use Foresight, which allows the user to foresee into the future by a few seconds, allowing them to dodge or block attacks before they happen. And the final power-up for Zoro is his Scarred Eye. Zoro has a Scarred Eye, which was from Mihawk's training, but what if it's the same eye as Mihawk? Mihawk's eyes are called the Hawk Eyes, which enable him with unparalleled supervision, and it also allows the user user to analyze and predict his enemy's next moves, giving them a huge advantage in combat. And to complete the monster trio, Sanji Vinsmoke is next. And his upgrades will be developing Advanced Armaments Haki. Advanced Armaments Haki allows the user to emit Haki from their body as an invisible force, enabling non-contact attacks or internal destruction of the target. Mastery over Advanced Armaments Haki allows the user to infuse their Haki into objects, making the object of choice even more powerful and allowing for internal destruction. Also, Sanji should develop Advanced Conqueror's Haki. If Sanji wants to catch up with Zoro and his title as Luffy's left-hand man, he will need to develop Advanced Conqueror's Haki, also known as Supreme King's Haki. This would allow Sanji to possess the ability to infuse Conqueror's Haki into his body. In order to get Conqueror's Haki, you must have the qualities of a king, and since Sanji is canonically a prince, as he was born as the third prince of the technological advanced Germa kingdom, before renouncing his royal lineage and family ties. Since he was a prince, developing Advanced Conqueror's Haki would show his evolution as a king. Sanji's next power-up is getting his third flame, which will be Osmodeus Jinbe. Diable is a French word that's commonly used for the word devil, referring to his technique as a devil power. And then Ifrit is a type of powerful demon from Islamic mythology, which are a type of jinn. They are a fiery creature that dwells in ruins, also referring to Sanji's Jinbe technique as a dynamic power. And then Asmodeus, which is the king of demons from Jewish and Christian mythology. He is one of the 7 princes of hell and is the demon of lust. And come on, this totally fits Sanji's character. And how would this work is by using Advanced Armaments Haki and infusing his Haki into his flames, making them black and more powerful, possibly making his flames way more hotter than his red and blue flames. And lastly is his Lunarian Awakening. Sanji has shown to have many traits of a Lunarian. He possesses the ability to ignite his own fire, has sheer speed and enhanced durability, and possesses the ability to fly. And since Sanji is a genetically modified human, it's possible that he possesses the DNA of the Lunarian race. Now that we got the monster trio out the way, let's do the rest of the Straw Hats. And the first Straw Hat that we got other than the monster trio is Cat Burglar Nami. Since Nami is the navigator and is known as the cat burglar because she is so good at stealing stuff, Advanced Observation Haki would fit her perfectly. Another possible power-up for Nami to have is a Devil Fruit. In my last video where I explained that the Goro Goro no Mi is the best devil fruit for Nami as it fits her fighting style perfectly, and in an SBS, Oda has stated that if Nami were to have a devil fruit, the Rumble Rumble fruit would fit Nami perfectly, with her weather prediction skills and climb attacks. This would also heavily increase Nami's power. as the Goro Goro no Mi would give Nami the ability to generate, control, and become lightning. She would be able to move at the speed of lightning, allowing access for teleportation, generate and use high voltage attacks, and sense the surrounding area by using the electrical magnetic field. And her last power-up is Advanced Conqueror's Haki. Jinbe did state that Nami had Conqueror's Haki. So it's a possible power-up for her, as this would allow her to enforce her willpower against her opponents. The next Straw Hat that we got for upgrades is God Usopp. So Usopp's lives have always become true and are often considered as predictions instead of lies, such as the arrival of pirates in his village, which are really true due to Captain Crow's attack on Syrup Village, and the giant goldfish, which later became true with the discovery of Nanimona Island, and also the country of dwarves, which later became true due to the introduction of the Tontada in Dressrosa. Usopp had lied about having an army of over 100 men at his disposal, so what if Usopp will later gain an army of 100 men? The next power-ups for Usopp to have are the 3 advanced forms of of Haki. First, we have Advanced Armaments Haki. If Usopp can develop and master Advanced Armaments Haki, he can infuse his Haki into his stars, with Haki making them even stronger. And Advanced Observation Haki, since Usopp has developed Observation Haki back in Dressrosa, it's possible that he can develop Advanced Observation Haki, which would fit perfectly as his role as a sniper. And Advanced Conqueror's Haki. If Usopp wants to become a brave warrior, Conqueror's Haki would make him a true warrior of the sea. It would allow him to infuse his Conqueror's Haki into his stars, basically shooting his Conqueror's Haki as a physical attack. Another power-up that Usopp will get is getting Mjolnir. Usopp uses a 500-ton hammer as his secondary weapon. This could foreshadow him getting a legendary hammer as his secondary weapon. Mjolnir is the hammer of Thor, the god of thunder, who is also a brave warrior in Norse mythology. This hammer allows him to generate massive amounts of electricity and release it into a powerful lightning attack. Also, there is a theory that Usopp could be the rare race of the Zushinodos tribe. This would explain why Usopp has a connection with both the Giants and the Tantata tribe. To support this theory, both Usopp and his mother have long noses, which could resemble the noses of Tantata. Also, Usopp had made a lie about being a relative of Nolan, and since Nolan has a chestnut on his head, possibly foreshadowing that Nolan could be a part of this lineage. And as I said before, almost everything that Usopp lied about eventually comes true throughout the series. So what if Usopp is a relative to Nolan? Usopp would have massive amounts of strength from being part giant and would be extremely fast due to being part Tantata. Being part giant would also support the theory that Usopp will later gain Mjolnir, as the giants from Elbaf are heavily inspired by Vikings, and the Vikings worship Norse mythology, which is the pantheon that Thor the Thunder God is from. Moving on to our next Straw Hat would be Tony Chopper. And Chopper's possible power-up as a Devil Fruit user is a Devil Fruit Awakening. Well, for some lore applications, Luffy's Devil Fruit is a mythical Zonai type Devil Fruit called the Human Fruit model Nika, and it allows him to transform into the Sun God, Nika, and Sengoku, who ate the Human Fruit model Buddha, which allows him to transform into a giant Buddha. And since Chopper has eaten the human fruit too, it's possible that his awakened devil fruit will allow him to transform into a godlike figure. In Skypedia, it is revealed that there is 4 gods in One Piece: the Sun God, the Rain God, the Earth God, and the Forest God, with Nika being revealed as the Sun God. And since deers typically live in forests, it's possible that Chopper is the Forest God. In One Piece, Chopper and Cherry Blossoms is a relationship that is tied to his mentor, Dr. Hirlik, who is believed that cherry blossoms were a cure for any illness. And since cherry blossoms come from a cherry tree and trees come from a forest, it would perfectly correlate with Chopper being the forest god. The powers and abilities of this devil fruit, the abilities of the forest god would be nature-based attacks, such as growing vines and using them as whips, creating massive amounts of flower poisoning to paralyze his opponents, and absorb the energy from his opponents by using roots. This power would fit Chopper's role as a doctor, as most medicines come from plants. One of the powers of the Forest God could be healing-based powers, such as healing allies on the battlefield and even self-resurrecting fallen allies. And to honor Dr. Hirluke, Chopper would use cherry blossoms to heal his wounded and dying allies. And his next 2 power-ups are getting Advanced Observation Haki and Advanced Armaments Haki. Chopper is a doctor, and if he has Observation Haki, he could better detect infected organs in his patients, and this would heavily increase his abilities as a doctor. And if something were to go wrong during a surgery, Chopper could use foresight to avoid those situations. Developing Advanced Observation Haki would increase his combat abilities as well. Since he would be able to detect infected organs and diseases from his patients, he could detect weak spots in his opponents as well as gaining the ability to use future sight. And Advanced Armaments Haki would also increase Chopper's combat abilities and power. Since Chopper doesn't really fight with weapons and only his fists for combat, Armaments Haki would be the best choice for Chopper, and he could infuse his Haki into his fists and punch his opponent's weak spots. Hats. That concludes Chopper's power-ups, but the next Straw Hat we have is Nico Robin, and her power-up could be a Devil Fruit Awakening. Robin's Devil Fruit could allow her to sprout copies from any surface and create giant multi-purpose constructs to control a wide area, potentially even summoning entire armies of clones to overwhelm opponents or create large-scale environmental effects to other Paramecia awakenings. Her Demonio Floral form that was from the Wano arc might be the form that Robin takes when awakening her Devil Fruit power, as she is titled as the Devil's Child. This name could foreshadow the awakening of her Devil Fruit. Also, another power-up that Robin can get is Advanced Armaments Haki and Advanced Conqueror's Haki. Combining her Armaments Haki with her Devil Fruit powers would be an absolute powerful combination. Imagine Robin creating millions of arms and then coating them with Armaments Haki and Conqueror's Haki. Remember when I said that Robin's title is known as the Devil's Child? Well, the implications of that can lead to Conqueror's Haki. The Devil, or Satan, is known as the King of Demons in Christianity, and one of the 7 demon princes in the Christian mythology. The name Devil Child will imply that Robin is the child of the King of Demons, making her a princess, and in order to have Conqueror's Haki, you need the qualities of a king. And since Robin is titled as a princess, her developing Conqueror's Haki could show her evolution of her powers. Now that we've gotten Robin out of the way, let's discuss General Franky's power-up. Franky's fighting style consists of gadgets and weapons, so his possible upgrades is upgrading his technology. Also, Franky is titled as Iron Man Franky due to his cyborg body. This is a direct reference to the popular superhero Iron Man. What if this reference is a foreshadow towards Franky's upgrades? Franky with an Iron Man-like suit would have superhuman strength and durability, flight, and shoot lasers and missiles. Franky already has some of these abilities, but they could be heavily upgraded. Franky's superhuman strength and durability could be enhanced to beyond levels of strength and durability. His flight can be enhanced by using actual rocket thrusters instead of farting, and he can shoot more powerful lasers and missiles. He could also gain new powers such as Devil Fruit-like powers infused to his suit, just like Sanji's raid suit that gives him multiple Devil Fruit-like powers. And he can also develop advanced armaments haki, just like how Mihawk said that any sword could turn black, and since swords are made of metal, and Franky's body is mostly made of metal, the correlation should work. So Franky could infuse his armaments haki into his armor permanently, turning it permanently black. Also, what about a Devil Fruit? In my last video where I gave every Straw Hat who didn't have a Devil Fruit a Devil Fruit, I gave Franky the Magnet Fruit, as it would fit with his character and allow him to invent gadgets on the spot by easily gathering materials around him. Also, Franky could invent Pluton. Pluton is one of the 3 ancient weapons that was used in the Void Century, along with Uranus and Poseidon. It is known as the world's worst battleship and possesses the ability to destroy entire islands in a single shot. Franky had destroyed the blueprints of Pluton back in Ennie's lobby, but there's a possibility that he memorized the blueprints and could possibly build Pluton. Moving on to Soul King Brook, the first upgrade for Brook to get is his Devil Fruit Awakening. Brook's Devil Fruit Awakening can involve necromancy, as he could raise entire armies of the undead, just like how Yamamoto does in Bleach. His awakening could include weakening his opponents by absorbing their life energy and then strengthening his power with the life energy he just absorbed. Brook could also gain a spiritual body to make him near immortal when in battle, as he would exist as purely spiritual entity, making him extremely powerful. He could also develop advanced armaments haki, as he could apply the armaments haki onto his bones. Then that would also reinforce his durability. And it would also make him look like a wither skeleton from Minecraft, which would make him look extremely cool. Also, Zoro isn't the only swordsman on the crew, but Brook is also a swordsman who's a part of the same crew. If Brook could master his armaments haki, he could infuse his sword with his haki and make it permanently black. And he could also unlock advanced observation haki. This kind of fits with Brook's role as a musician. You see, observation haki can allow him to feel the vibrations or even see sound waves, and since music is art in sound form, it would perfectly fit into Brook's role. This would also allow Brook to easily dodge opponents and could use foresight. And he can also unlock advanced Conqueror's haki. Oda has loved taking inspiration from various sets of media, including Dragon Ball, Star Wars, and even The Godfather. And there is a character from Marvel Comics that Oda might or even take inspiration from. And there is a character from Marvel Comics that Oda might or even most likely take inspiration from. Ghost Rider is a character from Marvel Comics who is known as the Spirit of Vengeance, which is a powerful supernatural entity that seeks vengeance on those who committed the most evil crimes. Ghost Rider possesses an ability called the Penance Stare, which allows the user to force their victims to suffer for the same pain they inflicted onto their opponents. This ability is extremely similar to Conqueror's Haki, and since both Ghost Rider and Brook are skeletons who use spiritual attacks against their opponents, so Oda might give Brook advanced Conqueror's Haki to reference Ghost Rider. And now, for the final Straw Hat is the Son of the Sea, Jinbe. His upgrades to his power are Advanced Armaments Haki, Advanced Observation Haki, and Advanced Conqueror's Haki. The first to go over is Advanced Armaments Haki. Jinbe already has Armaments Haki, so evolving it to Advanced Armaments Haki would be a huge upgrade. This would allow him to harm objects and opponents without physical contact. Next is Advanced Observation Haki, since Jinbe also has access to Observation Haki, and like I said with Armaments Haki, evolving Observation Haki to Advanced Observation Haki would be a great upgrade, since it would give Jinbe access to Future Sight. And Advanced Conqueror's Haki. Even as an ex-warlord, Jinbe never had Conqueror's Haki, even though there's been discussion over it. Developing it would increase his power dramatically, and then evolving it to Advanced Conqueror's Haki would make Jinbe extremely powerful. And his final upgrade would be Enhancing Fishman Karate. If Jinbe does get Advanced Armaments Haki, he could combine it with his Fishman Karate, essentially making him even more powerful and unpredictable. And since Jinbe has been covered, all the Straw Hats have reached their full potential. So can the Straw Hats right now fight against Emu and the world government? And the answer is, I don't really know. Truth is because we have not seen Emu at their full power. But let me know what you guys think. Could this upgraded Straw Hat crew be even stronger than Emu? Click on this video next, where I gave every Straw Hat who didn't have a Devil Fruit the perfect Devil Fruit.